The Smith & Wesson Model 10, designed in 1899, which to me is phenomenal. It was one of the very first Smith & Wessons that when you release the cylinder, it would come out of the left side. It has been one of the most popular revolvers ever produced, with over 6 million made. Of course, all made right here in the U.S. But it was previously known as the 38 hand ejector, and then it went into the military and police. So this is also the first M&P Smith & Wesson. And also it was the Victory model during World War II. Used again by military all over the world and with police units all over the world. But in 1957, Smith & Wesson actually named this the Model 10. This is the Model 10-6, which designates a heavy bull barrel. In fact, my very first Smith & Wesson handgun was a Model 10 with this exact configuration, even with the Uncle Mike's grips, which are on this one. The Model 10 served in World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, and in the Gulf War. And these are still being produced by Smith & Wesson even today. Of course, to make sure the gun is unloaded, it's very easy. Of course, you can see it without dropping the cylinder, but it is unloaded. The cylinder holds 6 rounds, which is typical for most of your double single action revolvers. And being a double action revolver means that when you pull the trigger, the hammer comes to the rear, and then you can fire the pistol. This can also be fired in single action by pulling the hammer back. One of the big advantages of a double action single action pistol is that you can pull this out of the holster immediately, fire around. But the big advantage of single action is that you can take your time. The trigger pull is a lot less, and that way you can aim more aimed fire at your target. And a lot of female shooters especially have a little bit of trouble firing a double action revolver, just because of the length of pull mainly. And with the Smith & Wesson, this has a very sweet double action trigger pull. I mean, it's even all the way through. The single action is very short. And I'm going to go ahead and just demonstrate that it's a very smooth trigger. And then, of course, with the single action, it's a crisp little snap. And because of that, there's no safety needed, no external safety, because of the long trigger pull on that first round. Now, the designation to Model 10 was changed in 1957, but it wasn't until the 60s that the bull barrel started to be very popular. This helped a lot with recoil, and it really kept the barrel cool. And of course, you know, shooting 6 rounds at a time, it's going to be very difficult to get this firearm really heated up. But the 10-5 is the tapered barrel, and then of course, this was replaced totally with the heavy barrel. And then it has a sloping fixed sight right here. It's just a channel, and then it has a serrated ramp at the front. These guns, though, are very accurate, and they really shoot well. Of course, the trigger pull as well really helps with the accuracy. Two 7-yard groups, not too bad for the type sights you have here. I mean, these are fixed, molded into the top of the receiver. Of course, you have your blade front. But, you know, these old guns, they may be old, but they're accurate. So, and a lot of fun to shoot. And really, with this kind of weight, there's no recoil. As long as I did my part, the pistol hit steel, even in double action. That's the way I was firing this pistol the whole time. Obviously, this pistol's been worked a lot. The double action trigger pull was just phenomenal. It's buttery smooth. And the single action, well, it's even better. Now, the weight on the Model 10 is pretty hefty, and that helps with recoil. It is 2 pounds and about 4 ounces, which equals to about 36 ounces total. The Model 10 was offered in this deep blue, but it was also offered in a nickel finish as well. The Model 64 is the stainless version of the Model 10, and they only make those in the 4-inch barrel. The original Model 10s were made in a 2, 2.5, 3, 4, 5, and 6-inch barrel configuration. The Model 10 was offered in this deep blue, but it was also offered in a nickel finish as well. The Model 64 is the stainless version of the Model 10, and they only make those in the 4-inch barrel, and they were in just 38 special. One of the great things though about the Model 10, it is in a K-frame, which is a medium frame revolver, but they can fire any kind of 38 special load, even the real hot 38 plus Ps. Now here we have a 38 special and a 357 Magnum. The diameter of the bullet, the diameter of the cartridge, and the only difference is the length of the cartridge. And this allows for more powder, more pressure to build up, and you're also using Magnum pistol primers where you're using standard pistol primers here. It is not safe to fire a 357 Magnum in a 38. In fact, the 357 Magnum will not chamber in the 38 special. But if you have a 357 Magnum, you can put 38 specials in that revolver. And that makes that really great to be able to practice with the 38 special. Taking the 357, you can actually drop it down into the cylinder and it looks like it fits. But you'll notice there is a large gap. It doesn't fit all the way in. And so that's going to cause it to bind right here. You're not going to be able to close the cylinder with a 357, and that's a really good thing. I got this Model 10 from Century Arms. I'd been looking for a while. The manufacturer suggested retail price of a new Model 10 is $739 on the Smith & Wesson website. Of course, you can find it for less at many of the other gun dealers around the country. But this being an import, you should expect to pay between $350 to $400. And you can have your dealer order this directly from Century Arms. There are no prices listed. But you can find a lot of the just standard police trade-ins just left here in the United States at J&G sales. I think I saw them running for about $419, and then at Bud's Gun Shop actually has a pretty decent price for $328. And you can look around for different models, and but they're here and there. But with 6 million of these made, there are a lot of Model 10s out on the market. Of course, the conditions vary. This one was a very good condition, but it did have a lot of small little pitting, and really it's in very good shape. The rust and everything is probably just from not being well taken care of when they were stored. But just some small little pitting around the cylinder, right around the back here, just some small areas, but overall it's really a good looking gun. And I'm going to clean it up. I haven't even touched it really. I just got it and took it out and started shooting it immediately because I was really excited about getting a Model 10 anyway. Like I say, I'd been looking for a while. The prices were just kind of extravagant. And really, it was more for a nostalgia piece to me. But these are really soft shooting guns. In fact, the recoil is just very light. I think this would make an excellent gun for the first time shooter. After they've shot 22 long rifle a little bit, just to get used to the noise and a little bit of the recoil, this would be an excellent step up, which would also be a good self-defense gun, especially with some of your plus P loads, your jacketed hollow points. It just really can be a good self-defense round. And these have been proven on the battlefield and with police units for, over 100 years. So it definitely has a tradition behind it. This is not going to be super fast reloading, but with reloaders, you can get pretty fast. If you've seen any of the competitive guys out there shooting revolvers, man, they make it look smooth. And of course, that takes a lot of practice. But really, most self-defense situations are 3 rounds, 3 feet, 3 seconds. So, you've got double that right here. This model still has the pin barrel, but it is the 3-screw side plate, which 1, 2, and there's another one here. You can find some that have a screw right here in front of the trigger guard, and a lot of that has to do with the date of manufacture and some of the changes that went on with the Model 10. In fact, it's kind of difficult when you're looking through to find the dates. You can even send in information to Smith & Wesson with a nice little fee and find out all the history about your firearm. Of course, right here is the Smith & Wesson medallion, and then right here etched in the side of the frame is Century Arms International, Georgia, Vermont. I really would rather them have engraved that somewhere else, maybe under the barrel crane or somewhere, but that's where it is. And of course with Smith & Wesson right here. Right here, 38 Smith & Wesson Special, CTG for cartridge. On the other side, marked Smith & Wesson. To find the model number on any Smith & Wesson revolver, just drop the cylinder out, and then right here you'll see the model number, and this is the Model 10-6. If there is a different designation, then it is a pre-60s Smith & Wesson. And of course, that's a whole nother world. Now, Century Arms doesn't really designate where they get these from. In fact, there's a lot of imports coming from Hong Kong, Brazil, other South American countries, and even Australia, and also from Israel. So there are a lot of these coming from all over the world. There are not really many proof marks when these firearms come back into the country, because most of them were made here in the U.S. and imported and used, and just no import marks were needed because it typically went into military or police service. And these typically have been carried a lot and shot little. So they're really in good condition. This was in excellent condition. The bore was beautiful. Again, just the little bit of cosmetic wear on the outside. And really, these turn out really well if you want to have these Cerakoted. And this came in at a condition that I really think I'm going to just leave it in the blue color, because really you're seeing less and less of that really deep bluing, which is a very nice finish. Of course, they do need to be maintained if they're in that finish. And of course, any firearm needs to be cleaned and maintained no matter what it is. Of course, while revolvers have kind of fallen aside for self-defense firearms, except for maybe your J-frame little small snub-nose revolvers, this is still a really great pistol to take to the range. It's also an excellent home defense gun, especially somebody that has very limited knowledge. The elderly, or for females, or for even male shooters that really just don't have a real strong interest in going out to the range, but yet want something that's dependable. Because that's the one thing about revolvers, is you pull the trigger and it goes bang. And so, having 6 rounds is better than nothing. And really, this is just a really great, iconic piece to have. If you do collect guns, if you're into guns, the Model 10 is one of those classics. Again, 6 million made. It's proven itself on the battlefield. In fact, it was still serving in the U.S. military well into the 90s. Now, as far as looking for what's available, you can go to the Century Arms website, look under products, especially in their odds and ends. They have a lot of different models of Smith & Wesson, a lot of different conditions. This is the very good condition, so you can imagine, going lesser. Obviously, if you're looking for a project gun, you can get something with less cosmetic features and probably get a better price. Or if you're looking for parts, if you are a gunsmith. So there are just a lot of options out there. And then again, there are a lot of collector sites out there for the Model 10, and a lot of them are available. On Impact Guns, I did see one listed for $672. That's a brand new pistol with, of course, the Smith & Wesson wood grips. Of course, there are a lot of aftermarket grips out on the market. You can get your standard Pachmayr, your Hogue rubber grips, or you can step it up and get some of the Hogue wooden grips, or some of the really nice G10 VZ grips. And there are others, I'm sure, out there. But you can really dress up your firearm to make it beautiful. And this is a classic. With all the high-tech pistols, polymer frames, lightweight, high-capacity, semi-automatics on the market, there's just something about an all-steel revolver, especially a good Smith & Wesson, that's just a lot of fun. It just really brings back the joy of shooting and hitting the target one round at a time. It's real hard when you have 15 to 17 rounds in a magazine to slow down. And that's one of the things a good old revolver will do. And it teaches you all the basic shooting skills. I highly recommend anyone to get a good used revolver or even a new revolver and add that to your collection, because it's a lot of fun to get out to the range, but it also makes an excellent home defense and self-defense firearm. And Smith & Wesson, they've been proven over and over. The Smith & Wesson Model 10, thumbs way up. Be strong, be of good courage. God bless America. Long live the Republic. Right here on the barrel, Smith & Wesson Right here, there are not really many proof marks, but also it makes an excellent self-defense and home defense. Do you feel lucky, punk? Well, do you?